So what have you been doing to keep yourself mentally right while also keeping fit? There's a whole lot that takes place in this issue with all of us being quarantined, some of us going back to work, some of us not going back to work. It just leads to a whole new world that we have to deal with. We have an amazing guest with us here today on Military Monday to bring up and share different things that you can do at home, get your mental mindset. You know, we've been talking about that a lot. That's kind of the theme. It's not the kind of theme. It is the theme for August on To The Point. I want to talk about a mental mindset and how it works in your personal life and, again, in your business role. We've talked about it a lot, and we got a great guest here today to talk about both of those things, and you're going to learn a lot. So get ready, because let's get to the point and learn today. All that and more coming up next. 2020. How do we start? Anyways, I'm Eric Mitchell, and this is To The Point. It's a good one for you today. It's Military Monday, and as you can tell, we're talking about 2020 and the dumpster fire known as the year that we've been stuck in for what feels like 60 decades. You can't even have 60 decades because that would be 60 years, so why do people call it decades and not years? I don't know. I recently learned that a decade's 10 years, so it's just cooler to say decades. I don't know. That's just honestly what we're doing. Anyways, just a little humor for this Military Monday. So hopefully you guys had yourself an amazing weekend. It's summertime. It's almost over. I would say you must be excited your kids are going back to school, but technically your kids going back to school means they just roll over, brush their teeth, and turn on their computers and go to school. They don't actually leave. We're all counting down the days that we could safely send our children to school so we can have our homes and our lives back. I know some people will probably never return to work as remote learning. So that brings up some interesting topics for us today. We're going to talk a little bit about fitness. We're going to talk about depression, which it's a big hot topic, as a recent survey said now we're at an all-time high with people who have contemplated suicide. That's crazy just to put out in a sentence, and the fact that people are being surveyed and admitting to it says that we're in a different place in 2020. We're in a different place in our world. And we have a great guest returning today to join us. The great guest today joining us, returning. That sentence doesn't make sense at all, Eric. It's okay. Said that in. Remember, if you have a complaint or something that I said, you can always email us at hello@tothepointtv.com. Just kidding. We have a great guest returning today on this Military Monday, a good friend of mine, great United States Marine. So let's get to the point with my good buddy and Marine Corps veteran and fitness guru or fitness maven, the wonderful Lisa Bodenburg. Welcome back to the show, Lisa. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. Thank you.
It's always good to have you on the show. Always lots to talk about in our world. I know the last time you were on was unfortunately, I mean, it was a great episode, but unfortunately it was right before we got the bad news about Vanessa Guillen and whatever Fort Hood wants to call itself. I don't know how the Army still calls that a base. I mean, you and I are both Marines. And our bases just aren't run this way. I mean, if the Marines, so let's break it down for the folks at home. If a Marine Corps base lost 20 Marines in 8 months, we'll go all the way out to August now, you think the Marine Corps might have reacted a little different? I mean, you and I both know if we lose a weapon, we shut shit down like permanently. Like nothing moves until that weapon is found. I mean, hey, don't you find this odd that Fort Hood just like what? It's business as usual. They're just gone.
I don't think odd is the word to describe it. I simply can't fathom what what this would be like. Just because if we lost one Marine, let's give them grace. Let's be a little bit more respectful and understanding, because we're unsure, we're not there, we're on a TV show talking about it and we're not there. So maybe we lost one Marine, but the second Marine would then cause complete and utter shutdown. Every single person, every single MP, every single command would be involved. There would be numerous formations and accountability and so reporting all the way up to the base commander. So why this didn't happen on their second soldier, let alone all the way to, what did you say, 20?
20, yes, 20.
That's insanity, and it's completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's happening there. I can't speculate, and I honestly can't talk on the why behind it. But the fact of the matter is that it's completely unacceptable. If our men and women are joining the service in order to give back to our nation, the very minimum we can do is take care of them while they're in.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I love that we covered this. I mean, I don't want to spend the entire episode bashing on Fort Hood, as easy as it would be to do, because they are completely just, I don't have enough answers. I've been studying up on it, reading Rod Rodriguez, who's been on our show. He does a lot of work. He has a great podcast on Military Times. If you're watching, great podcast to go listen to. They've not only interviewed Vanessa Guillen's family, her attorney, but they've also interviewed and shared stories of the other soldiers who have gone missing. In fact, one guy, actually the first one that you can kind of tag back all the way to September 2019, they made him AWOL. Now here's what's weird about his story and kind of perked my attention. He was due to get out of the Army in 4 days. You don't go AWOL, like, you just don't go AWOL 4 days before getting out honorably. Like, you finish your time. Like, you're already on a cakewalk. I know, I remember my last 2 weeks in the Corps. Yeah, man, talk about skate. That's what I was a professional at skating. Like, I found ways to do less. I didn't even think it was possible, because us infantry guys, we're pretty good at skating. It's something that you practice when you're in the Corps. Like, you're really good at it in the infantry. You're like, how can I look like I'm part of this working party, but not part of this working party? Like, that's how your last 2 weeks are. And this guy goes and he turns up in a shallow grave with cement over the top of it, and the Army still won't change his status from AWOL. They still have it, so his family can't collect on anything. They don't get any of that assistance. And to me, it's like, and I get it, and I ask, and the Army's like, well, it's different than the Marine Corps. And I'm like, I get it. You guys wear berets. You're not as cool as us. We get it. We look better. Sorry, this is just becoming me bashing on the Army. No, I love the Army. I love what they do. I do not like the way Fort Hood's been handled. But, I mean, that's just some of it, Lisa. I mean, it just blows me away that this is still going on. But I guess the bright spot is our conversation that we had with the Marine rapper and Jesse. It's actually kind of triggered a lot of conversation. And one of the topics I see talked about a lot is sexual harassment, sexual assault in the ranks. And it's cool to see that as a topic where people are constantly bringing it up. And I think it needs to be consistently talked about, because you and Jesse brought a lot of light to a lot of stuff that I know a lot of people have watched the episode and given us feedback on. Like, and I think it's your reaction actually is the one people always come back to. They're like, when you asked your buddy Marine, so you're my buddy Marine, by the way. When I asked you the question, I said, how many women in our ranks do you think get sexually harassed or assaulted? And your answer with a straight Marine Corps face, you said, all of them. Do you know how many people contacted me about that? They're like, she said that, like, all of them. And I was like, well, what do you think she was going to say? Juggle why she was answering that question? I'm like, you guys go through it, and it's alarming. And it's not just females, it's males too. I've seen that. I've heard the stories. I had some people need to send me hate mail that I didn't reflect on the men, and I apologized. I still apologize for it. I don't mean to make light of it, but I am a father of 2 daughters, so it kind of is one of those things that I think of in the ranks, and I have a lot of, sisters in arms. And to hear this goes on, as a guy in the infantry, we don't serve with women. It's not our fault. It's a Marine Corps thing. I can't wait till we do have women in our ranks, because it's the Marine Corps, and I don't look at you as like, you're not a woman, you're a Marine. That's, how we are about our branch. So, I mean, are you happy to see that at least in the news, seeing that it's being a topic now?
Absolutely. And it is something that needs to be talked about. And I believe the last time that we did speak on this subject, we didn't shy away from the fact that this happens with men as well. Statistically, yes, it happens more often with the females, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen with men as well. I think it falls under the umbrella of hazing. And whichever route that you want to go with hazing, there can be sexual assault, there can be physical assault, it can be verbal. So there's a line when it comes to hazing in the military, and there are some very good intentioned procedures, and I guess the word I'm looking for is something that we're consistently doing, that it has been come up through the ranks over the years, and we follow that for some time. The reason why is that we need to know when that line stops. The problem is that people have taken that too far, and they've taken that too far over several different topics. So whether it's sexual harassment or physical or verbal or whatnot, there's a lack of leadership that is around those subjects, that is around those areas. So I know in the Marine Corps specifically, we are extremely well educated over that. We take time out of our training and time out of our day in order to educate and go over and rehearse and train what is and is not acceptable. Yeah. That doesn't mean we need to lessen our standards or weaken ourselves in any way, shape, or form. But when you take things like that too far, that does weaken us. So it's a balance. It all has to do around leadership, good leadership, and just maturity, to be honest. So yes, talking about it, absolutely. Like any problem, no matter what the case, no matter what the topic, talking about it is the number one step to being able to solve the problem. Because if you don't, everyone's in their own mind. Everyone thinks they have an answer, and their answer is different from everyone else's.
Yeah, I agree with you. And while speaking of things that we should be talking about, let's pivot here and talk about, the last time you were on, and it was just the two of us, not our panel, we were talking about protests. They were occurring, and now this is June, folks. We were talking way back in the decade known as June. Well, I live outside, I do not live in Portland, but Portland is now celebrating 80 some odd days of protesting. And I want to have this conversation with you because you have been boots on the ground in LA, firsthand seeing the protests that were, for the most part, out of what they were, it was actually the Black Lives Matter movement was involved for a change. But here in Portland, it's different. And I want to rant with you, and I think we actually align on this. I'm wearing my, proudly so everybody on camera sees it, my beautiful backing the blue here, and I have no shame in the game. If you're offended by that, I'm not the show to watch. But here in Portland, police are being attacked on a nightly basis to the point where, again, fires are being set. These aren't protesters. This isn't what the oath you and I swore to protect in the Constitution. We don't protect protesters. We have no problem with people using their First Amendment rights for free speech, peaceful protesting. You're allowed to do that. And in fact, here in Portland and in many other cities in America, Black Lives Matter holds peaceful protests, and the cops come out and be like, we don't even come by these. There's not even an issue. This isn't, and even Black Lives Matter is like, bro, we don't even know why we're being involved. Here in Portland, every night, about 500 people have been arrested. Out of that, 96% haven't been charged. They've actually been released, and 100% of them are all white folk. So it's clearly not a Black Lives Matter movement. Why do you think our country is supporting, so many people are supporting these clowns they're breaking the law? And it's become, I want to jive with you on this because we both served. We know what the Constitution says. And to me, like, people are like, aren't you more upset about kneeling? I'm like, I don't care about kneeling because kneeling's part of the Constitution. You're allowed to do it. I don't have to do it. But if you want to do it, you're allowed to. And you're not offending me. I'm not triggered by it. You do piss me off when you're burning buildings, you're affecting small businesses, and you're attacking police officers. I'm sorry to say, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, not every police officer is bad. There's millions of them that are amazing. It's like saying every Marine is great. You and I both know that's far from the truth. Every job, any job you've ever had, you probably have turds. I've hired shitty people, okay? Let's just be real while we're talking here. So why do you think there's this large majority of America that seems to think this behavior, and I see it on social, thinks this crap is okay.
I'll tell you why, Eric, because it's being allowed. That's what it boils down to.
Good answer.
There are people who are going to push the envelope, no matter what facet, no matter what walk of life that you are in. You are always going to have people that are willing and attempting to push the envelope, and they will get away with what you allow them to. It is up to us to stand up for those who to stand up against those individuals and stand up for people on the opposite side of the spectrum who can't stand up for themselves. And that's exactly what you and I fight for. That's exactly what we were doing when we signed up. Now, you and I have some differences of opinion when it comes down to politics, but the beauty of it is that's okay. That's exactly why we are America. You and I are allowed to sit here and disagree and have a respectful conversation on the complete opposite sides of the spectrum. But we do it with integrity and we do it with respect for one another's opinion. There's no reason that we have to disrespect one another and come at each other with terrible name calling or anger because we don't agree. The whole beauty of America is the ability to disagree. So why this is happening in Portland is because it's being allowed to. If there were no laws in this country, it would be complete anarchy. There would be people that are doing anything and everything. There would be raping, pillaging, stealing, absolute insanity in the streets. And there would be other people on the other side of the spectrum who would be so afraid to go outside that they would stay in their house and probably starve to death. That is why law and order is so important. So these people are getting away with it because we are allowing them to. And it is up to us to stop that. If we want to fight for our country, if those who are listening to this show right now want to do something, this is one of the things that you can do. You do not have to sign up for the military. You do not have to run for office. But it is up to you to vote properly. It is up to you to get involved and to stand up for what you believe in. And it is not okay to allow others to break the law because they feel like it. If you allow your children to eat candy all day or before they go to bed because they feel like it, what kind of child are you raising? So take that into adulthood. People are the same way. We need laws, we need order, and we need discipline. We crave it. You and I both. We're not above that. But we choose to follow the law. Yeah. And those individuals are choosing not to. And they're allowed to get away with it. That's why it continues.
Absolutely. And it's concerning because it continues happening. And to me, and you're right, just so everybody's clear, you're right. We don't have to agree on politics. And, you know, George Bryant's on here and he always tells me that too. And I'm like, look, I'm glad because I can have these conversations with you guys and I don't care. Again, at the end of the day, and I said this on my episode with another Marine just last week, I said, look, at the end of the day, I think voting is the most personal thing any of us can do. I think I actually ranted on Facebook about this. And I've been on a mission now to not put my political viewpoints on Facebook because there's not military folks that have issues with it. It's outsiders who, like, if I have another person message me because they disagree with me that they want to come fight me, I'm like, come on, man. Like, I get that you don't like my opinion or something I share. Again, when I get in the voting booth, it's my choice like it's your choice, and we all make that decision, and that's the great thing about living here, and it's why I have the flag prevalent everywhere. It doesn't mean I hate my country to not be the same. My argument with everybody, and my mother will back this up as the person who's known me the longest, second by my wife, is, you know, I'm going to do what I want to do anyways, and I don't want to be like everybody else. So I am going to march to the beat of my own drummer. Whether it means I align with people in every election, I mean, trust me, I got crap for voting for McCain before, okay? Like, I had people come at me for that, and I was like, but he's a Republican. It's not a good thing to do. And, you know, people I haven't shared what I am politically. Like, people pick a side, and they're like, he's that. And I'm like, nope. And that's what's funny. But here in Portland, this is the only place where it's still going, and you're right. The mayor does nothing. And Lisa, what's more alarming is living here, watching the news and listening to these city council members, and they're approving of this behavior. They think it's okay. And I'm going, they sent out a memo for our kids. I have 2 children, both of them teenagers. They sent out a memo going, should we like get rid of the resource officers at the high school and the schools, armed police officers? I'm like, no, we need to keep those. And they're like, well, what if? I'm like, I am cool with a what if controversy. to keep some psychopath with a gun, if that means somebody else with a gun is there. You don't want to give teachers guns, okay. Then how about you at least give my kid a fair chance with somebody with a gun until my ass gets there with my friends, and then we'll take over for you if you want to do that. But we go from teaching folks who need help how to use their weapon in proper tactics, which we go through it in the Corps. We're both used to it. That's, there's like, hey, there's new tactics out, and sometimes some of our Marines need to go through, some extra instruction. And hey, cops have it too. There's no problem with that. But why is there a target on cops' heads? I mean, for me, I've never seen this before. Cops have always been our heroes. Like, they are, to me, they still are. I mean, I'm proudly wearing this. I do support the badge 100%. These guys will save my life. If my house is getting robbed, who am I calling? Antifa? Yeah, please. What are those sissy lalas going to do? Show up with their trash can shield and chant, like, call me a Nazi? And they clearly haven't read a history book, because clearly I'm not a Nazi. I mean, the Germans, in fact, called us Teufelhunden for a reason. I mean, I could go on in Marine Corps history. If you need a Marine Corps history lesson at home, we will give you one. But I mean, here's my question for you, Lisa. Recently, the DHS acting director was asked, do you consider Antifa a terrorist group? And he would not. Again, another organization, so this is me pointing fingers at government. Why do you think the president, which is one thing I actually agreed with him on, Antifa's a terrorist group, domestic terrorist, why do you think it's so difficult for folks to actually point a finger at them and go, Antifa, you are a terrorist group. You're burning buildings, assaulting police officers, beating people walking down the street on a Saturday night who they're behaving themselves. Innocent people this weekend in Portland were attacked walking from a bar to their house. So they didn't drive. They were being good citizens, right? Doing that good thing. You should be able to walk down the street with your friends and not be attacked by these mama's boys who came out of their mom's basement and decided they need to go beat people. Why do you think the government hasn't gone and actually said, okay, Antifa, you're a terrorist group. Let's go wipe you off the face of the earth? Sorry.
You know what, Eric, that's a really interesting question, because I don't even have an answer. I can't fathom why that someone won't stand up and say, look, these are the enemy right now. I think it's extremely difficult to make that decision and to make that statement and admit that the enemy is coming from within. Yeah. That is absolutely extremely difficult, whether we're talking about our own person and the faults that we have, or we're talking about within the walls of the United States that there's a problem coming from within. It's extremely difficult to admit, and I know that. So maybe they're trying at this moment to give them remediation or find another way or help them or see it from their point of view. But we've gotten to the point so far, like you've been stating, that police are now the bad guy. Mm-hmm. And you also asked, why is that? I'll tell you why. It's because that's everything that is being put into our heads. Funny enough, you and I, we're on the media right now. However, the vast majority of the things that are coming across all media sources are beating into our heads that all cops are bad. When is the last time that they showed the other side? They're showing such a small percentage of the terrible things that are happening. Now, don't get me wrong and don't twist my words. The things that they are talking about have happened, they are real, and those individuals need to be brought to justice. That's not acceptable. Yeah. Police officers are held to a higher standard because they are the ones we are supposed to be counting on. So yes, they should be acting almost perfect 24/7. But when you sign up to be a police officer, you know you're taking that on. That has a responsibility. But that doesn't mean that things like that are happening all of the time. 95% or more of the time, police officers are doing good things. They're saving lives. They're running towards the fire. They're running towards the burglary. They're helping you. They're there to stop harm from occurring. So why aren't we talking about the positive? Probably because it doesn't get as much attention. And the more attention that the media can get, the more ratings and the more money. And that's what it boils down to. So if we took a moment to realize, what are our thoughts? Are you monitoring your thoughts? Are you monitoring what you're putting into your brain? People want to talk about they're monitoring what they put into their body, going on a diet. Do you monitor what you put into your brain? Likely not. You're probably filling yourself with all different media sources, watching the news 24/7, Anything that comes across your Facebook feed, you read the title and you instantly believe it and then regurgitate it, and you don't even take the time to research it and find out if it's true or not. How many different headlines on Facebook and Instagram are floating around out there right now that are completely false? Yeah. If you can take the opportunity and take the time to differentiate what's actually factual and what's not, you're part of the problem. Yep. So, yeah, there's a huge problem right now, but it's much bigger than being able to look around and say, yes, you're the problem. It's now we have to face it. Now we have to handle it. And again, handling something from within is extremely difficult because it takes a piece of humble pie, as we like to say, to be able to look within and fix a problem.
Absolutely. And Lisa, while you were talking, I looked over on my screen for some updates. One that came across my team just shared with me, the problem is leadership. And I think 2020, we've seen leadership in many different ways fail everywhere, at all levels. I'm not pointing fingers at one. I'm going to point a finger at one particular person right now. I have no shame in my game. Mayor Ted Wheeler, which is the mayor of Portland, this is his response to last night's fire. They lit another fire in another building. This is why we have this issue. I'd love your kind of reaction because it's interesting. I'm like, so you're kind of apologizing, kind of endorsing. This is why this continues on here. This is the leader. He says, I continue to support and encourage the demonstrations calling for racial justice and police reform. Yet I condemn the criminal destruction that occurred last night at the county building.
Okay, let's just stop right there.
Right.
That is a politically correct answer in a time where we need a leader.
Yep.
We don't need you to have a politically correct answer. You've already been appointed.
Yep.
So now you're in the position of power and you're in the position of leadership. Do something with it.
Yep.
I don't know that individual. I'm not in that state. I also don't even watch the news. I consistently do not watch the news that comes across the television. However, that from what you're telling me, if that statement is 100% true and factual, that individual needs to take a strong, hard, long look in the mirror and recognize that you've already been appointed the position. Now, what are you going to do with it? Yep. It's time to step up. Because if you're going to consistently reply with politically correct answers, you're trying to appease everyone, which means you're not going to please anyone. Yep. That's not the point of your job. Yep. And that brings me back to what you were saying earlier, where people are unsure which side of the spectrum that you're on. Are you Republican? Are you Democrat? Who's either anymore? Yeah. Because we have extremists on one side and extremists on the other, and those two are the loudest. Where does everyone else that fall in the middle? Where do we get classified? When we are an individual who believes in pro-rights for gun ownership, but also may not believe in abortion. Yeah. Where does someone like that fall in? I want an America where you can be pro-gun and pro-choice. Yep. Where is that political candidate?
But that's the problem, Lisa. That's always been the problem. And I take it even kind of a little step back on that topic, because that's a TV topic I try to shoo away from. You brought up the A word, and I'm like, run! It's like Eric will say a lot of things. I'm like, run! But even like talking about cannabis, right? I love talking about cannabis. I have, number one, I'm a huge supporter of it. I'm very pro-cannabis. I know you can't comment on this because you're in the military, so I'll comment. But DD-214. But sorry, can't resist. That's one of my favorite things to say. But cannabis, right? A lot of people we know for PTSD, for our brothers and sisters, has proven to help our brothers and sisters, and it's not addictive like these pills the VA just throws down all of our brothers and sisters' throats and solves it. So I'm a big fan of cannabis, but there's people on both sides that are like, oh, it's a drug, it's that. And that's kind of stepping back from the big A word that I want to kind of steer the boat around. You're more than welcome to comment on it. I just won't be making my 2 cents onto that, which is just run the show. I don't want to open Pandora's box and have the hate mail that I already get. I don't need more of it. But when it comes to like cannabis, like you're right. I get it, because why can't we live in America where you can like it and not be judged? If you're using cannabis, what's the difference between cannabis and CBD? There's not really a huge difference. One is a little bit more street legal, but technically in a lot of states, the states you and I happen to live in, it's beyond legal. Cops won't even pull you over nor care if you have it on you. I mean, I have friends that are officers who are like, I don't care. It's not like you're like, it's not illegal in these states. It's not illegal in more states now than ever, but yet we still kind of frown upon it, and it makes your political party right. And I laugh because guys like Joe Rogan talk about it all the time, like this middle of the road stuff, but everybody wants you to belong to a party. And it's like, why do I have to? Do I actually have to, or can I don't have to like, this is my statement, and everybody out here, so I'm going to clarify my position right now, just because I feel like it, because you and I are together, and this is what we're going to do. I'm going to clarify my statement. I get attacked quite often for my feelings on the current president of the United States. Now, I want to make one thing perfectly clear. I respect the position of the president of the United States. I don't have to like the person in office, but they're an elected official. They come and go. We've got 45 of them in our history books. I don't have to like them. I had leaders in the Marine Corps. I've had leaders in jobs. They came and they went. It doesn't mean I had to respect the position. I did not have to respect the person. I can have a different of a viewpoint, and it doesn't make me less of an American, because last time I checked, that beautiful document that sits just down from the White House in the National Archives says that I can do that, and says that you can have a different opinion, and you and I could disagree, and we're just fine. We're still Americans. We can still sit in the same restaurants. We don't have segregation. We don't have any of those horrible things that we used to have in our country. Yet people always, you're right, they want to position people. So it kind of swings us, I'm going to steer the boat here. It swings us to this problem, and you brought up social media. Social media is causing more harm than good right now. Your posts are very motivating, Lisa. They're inspiring. Watching you work out on top of the Staples Center, go Rip City, because we're better than the Lakers. Just got to throw that out there just because. You're always above the Staples Center working out, so I had to give you a little bit of rough there.
Yeah.
But let's talk about depression, because people are literally reading social media and their heads are spinning. Some people are reacting. Other people are taking it to extremes where they're like, they've gone off the grid and they're just not mentally healthy. What are you, I mean, let's talk about something that is a strong, you have strong opinions. I want your insight on this. What are you telling people? Because I know you have people lean on you for that. And I know that you deal with your own, everything that's gone on in your life. How are you telling people to kind of proceed? Because social's part of our life. I mean, everybody likes it. I mean, it's that FOMO thing. So how are you kind of moving people around in this really weird, before when I asked you this question, it was COVID, right? COVID. And now it's like COVID and race and election 2020. Like all three of those together is like throwing your hand in a blender and turning it on. It's scary. So what are you telling folks?
I think right now it is the biggest time that people need to allow themselves grace. And I don't think that we do that enough. Now, there are people who do too much of that, where they become couch potatoes, and next thing you know, they're 300 plus pounds and they're completely unhealthy and they possibly die from heart disease. That happens. That's allowing yourself a lot of grace. But for the vast majority of individuals, we are always trying to better ourselves. We are always trying to improve. And right now, that might not be the time. If you are concerned about improving or bettering yourself, great. Take one topic, take one step forward, but allow yourself a moment to react appropriately to these times. We are in unprecedented times right now, and nobody has the answer. Nobody knows what to do. But allowing yourself that grace to kind of absorb everything that's happening and then know how to properly react. Also allowing others the grace to react how they feel. Now, that doesn't mean you want to react and break the law like we were talking about at the beginning of the show. No, but we're talking about internal feelings and struggles and what's happening. There's so much that we're being forced to consume, and it's causing chaos in our own minds. So what are you allowing yourself to consume? Are you consuming everything that runs across your phone? Are you consuming everyone's post on Facebook, which you have friends probably from both sides of the spectrum? Then are you hopping over to Instagram and doing the same thing? Not to mention, you're scrolling through your feed and you see all these Instagram models, and how are they happy and still have a six-pack, and you feel completely depressed and you've put on the quarantine 15, right? Yeah. Let's not forget that everyone puts their highlight reel on Facebook and on social media and on Instagram, right? Everyone is taking 1,000 photos to get that one perfect photo. And I oftentimes will post a pre-real life photo right next to an Instagram photo and show the difference. People need to be reminded that it's not always sunshine and rainbows just because you're seeing that. I try to be as real as possible in my posts. I just posted on my feed a picture of a friend of mine and myself. We went on a hike, and during this hike we are chatting, and I'm telling him how I can't do something. And he stops me right there and he said, well, did you even try? Did you even call up and ask? And I said, well, no, but, and then I went on to give my excuses. And he told me right away, he said, that's a load of crap. It's a load of crap, Lisa. You didn't even attempt to pick up the phone or to ask questions. You just saw something and you thought it was a certain way. So that's what you assumed, and you perceived it, and that's how it was in your mind, and you believed it. How right was he? Now I get the opportunity to go back, to pick up the phone, to ask questions, and now I might be a part of something so much greater than myself, and I may not have been had I not just picked up the phone. So looking at a situation, looking at a picture, looking at something, and making your own decision on what that is without finding out information is going to hurt you. It's going to cause more harm than good. So I know I hopped around a little bit, but it's truly being intentional about what you're consuming with your brain, what you're consuming, what information you're consuming, and what you're allowing yourself. When you get out of bed in the morning, are you down? Are you sad? Are you not sure what to do and you have no motivation? Do you then turn on a sad song or turn on a TV show and you're flicking through the channels? Or are you making the decision to say, no, I don't want to feel this way. So I'm going to get a 2-minute movement in. I'm going to get my heart rate up. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to quickly go on YouTube and type in motivational speech. Bazillion different options will pop up. You click on one, usually boxing, is the one my go-to, but I love them. And the next thing you know, you're pumped up in your bedroom, you're making your bed, you're doing 10 push-ups, you're like, yeah, I can crush anything. Yep. It's just that simple. So monitor your thoughts, monitor what you're consuming. And if you're feeling down, it's okay, understand it, allow it, but then do something about it. Try to take a step forward, whether that's a physical step, whether that's talking to someone, whether that's admitting it out loud, but taking a step forward.
Yeah, I love that because that's so true. I love that advice of starting your morning. I mean, I used to be consumed where the first thing I would do is pick up my phone and go to social. And then I started my goal in August, which I'm proud of myself. I have not been political. I decided halfway through July, no more politics. It was just causing too much I was like, good God, why am I enjoying pissing people off? It was almost enjoyable. It was like this sick, I was like, I don't need to do that. I have a show. I can do that by myself. I have a bigger platform to go piss people off on. And I don't even try to do it on here. Honestly, I don't. I just try to give a viewpoint and talk about subjects that mainstream media is going to dance around or not talk about. They're not going to talk about depression. They're not going to talk about, anything that really goes on in the world. They're going to sugarcoat it and move on to the next blood and guts thing that goes on. And I changed my pivot, and also the last year I've been meditating, doing yoga, making my day. The silliest thing is I drink water before I do anything. Everybody's like, how many cups of coffee you drink? I'm like, I don't know how many things of water do I drink because I drink both about equal. I'm always pounding water. My morning doesn't start. I don't press play on anything until I pound my water. I have a thing of water. It's the first thing I drink. Get that going, crank out some push-ups. That's what I started doing a couple months ago. It's kind of nice to kind of get it going. Then I go do some yoga and I meditate and I throw it in my ears and it's all good stuff before I even touch anything on social. And then I don't even choose to read it. I'd rather put a positive message on social. And I think more people need to do that because if you go positive, then you'll get positive reaction. And if you believe in that and you just put yourself in that, I think more people need to do that. You're one of those people that I know when I watch your content, I'm going to be uplifted and feel inspired. You and several other people. I have a list of people that I know if I go see it, I'm going to be cool, they're doing something positive. They're not you suck and Trump or Biden or blah, 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 right? And you're just I could turn on the TV and hear that same crap. I don't want to hear it right now. So I think more people need to do that. But depression is huge. And before you go, I don't want to dance around this topic. A survey came out that said for the first time ever, America is at its lowest point, as in people having suicidal thoughts. Now, in our world, in the military, this is an issue that is unfortunately an everyday topic. And you and I talked before we came on air, we're seeing more and more people doing the 22 push-up challenge. And I know everybody's sending them to you because everybody sees you work out all the time. So I think they're just like, hey, Lisa, we want you to do more push-ups. But ladies and gentlemen, I don't think 100 people should be sending Lisa challenges to do it, because the poor woman will be doing push-ups all day. And then I couldn't get her on an interview on here because we're trying to get her on here once a month. And I need her to be able to like talk and not be, hold on, I got to do another 22. It's a great cause and we're happy to see it. But suicide is now, it's a big concern. So what are some tips that folks can go through when they start getting that in that? Now, mind you, these aren't people committing suicide. This is people talking about like they're having the thoughts. Now, we've been there. I've been there. I've been there a long, long time ago when I was, just got out of the uniform. I didn't have anybody to talk to. I've been there with me and a handgun trying to make that difficult decision. I know you have your story, and so do many of our brothers and sisters. What advice are you giving to folks to kind of swing? You got to swing that. You cannot. That's a scary road to go down. That road is not pretty, and it scares me because a lot of those folks are just a few years older than my own kids, and I don't want to lose anybody. We shouldn't lose people to this. This is a disease that will pass. We'll get a vaccine. Life will return to somewhat normal. Don't need to end your life over it. But what advice are you giving to folks?
You know what, Eric, the first thing that I want to do is actually not talk directly about those who are feeling those feelings. I want to talk to everyone else, because it's very difficult for other individuals to wrap their head around this if they've never experienced it. I recently had a long conversation with a dear friend of mine back on the East Coast who I hadn't heard from in some time. And she felt so comfortable after going through something so devastating to pick up the phone and reach out to me and say, I really need your help. And we spoke about the fact that her sister's boyfriend committed suicide, and she just couldn't understand. Neither could her sister. They just didn't know how to react. So to those individuals, yes, suicide can look and feel like a very selfish thing to do. And in some ways it is. But the individual that's going through that likely didn't just start there. Their road has likely been long and exhausting, and they have tried so many different options that they feel that there is nothing left. And they just simply get to the point where they can't take the pain anymore. And that's the point of giving up. So when someone has been trying for so long and they don't understand, why do I feel so sad? Why am I so down? Why is nothing helping and everyone else seems to be happy? You start to think that you are alone and you are isolated, and that is one of the biggest problems. Now you have isolation, you have division, and you have these sad feelings that are making you feel completely by yourself and that nothing can fix you. So when you try and try and try, for myself, it was over 2 years before I finally got to the point where I'm exhausted from being sad. I don't have it in me anymore. I want to end the sadness. That's where I was. There is no, oh, come on, Maureen, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Trust me, if there was, I would have done it. And a lot of people who go down that path would have done it as well. So for those of you who don't understand, it's okay that you don't understand, but try to remember that these people have been struggling for so long and they feel like they're at their wits' end and they're exhausted. For those who are struggling, I promise you it gets better. There are steps you can take. Physically moving your body. 2 minutes in the morning will have a physiological effect on your brain. You will feel happier. 2 minutes, get your heart rate up. You can do it. You can cry while you do it. You can rant while you do it. You can rage while you do it. It doesn't matter. I promise you, there's scientific evidence you will feel better. Eat healthy. The more healthy things you put in your body, the better you feel. The unhealthy things you put in your body, you feel unhealthy, then you crave more unhealthy things. It is a terrible cycle. Know that it's okay. Speak about it. Talk to someone. Reach out. There are plenty of resources that you can use where you don't have to talk to anyone that you know. But I want you to know that if you're feeling this way, no matter how strong you are, no matter how many people count on you, no matter how important you are, or what big of a business that you run, or how many people you're in charge of, it does not make you weak. It makes you vulnerable. And if you face your vulnerabilities, you can then increase your strengths. That is the difference. So make sure that you recognize that your vulnerability can be a source of strength, and you owe it to yourself, and you owe it to all those people that you're using as an excuse why you can't get help to get the help that you need, because then you become the best version of yourself, and then you can become the better person for all of those other people. It does get better, and suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I promise you, you're not alone, and you're worth it. When's the last time that you looked in the mirror and you told yourself, you're worth it, you're loved, you're enough, you're beautiful, you're respected? When's the last time you told yourself that? How many things we're thinking of and we're being shown every single day that make us feel inadequate? It's a lie. You're not inadequate. You are enough, and your life is worth it.
I love it. Wow. I think we'll end it right there, because that's outstanding. I knew that one would be Lisa would drop the mic and walk off stage on that one. Thank you for your insight on that. It's very true. I think both sides. I think that's another thing, and that's why I love To The Point and having you on as a guest, is because we can get and talk about it, because it's so sugar-coated. If I watch, sometimes I have the news on, and I hear them talk about it, and they just glaze over that story like suicide's on the rise. It's the same way they've treated Kanye, right? Kanye has a mental disorder, and they ridicule the man for it, not try to seek help, not to do it. And it's a problem that I see going on in our country, is we still treat these mental disorders and diseases as like this joke. Even veteran suicide, still to this very moment in 2020, is shrugged off. People are like, what do you want us to do? It's not handled by anybody. The VA doesn't do anything truly about it. You and I both know that. There's a significant difference between when we both served, but the story is the same, which is scary. And I go and ask people before my time in service, the story's the same. And you just keep, and it's like, and to me, to see it happen in our country now, I'm like, well, crap, we can't even take care of 3% of our country, which is just us, those who serve. Now we're going to have more people doing it. And it's like, it just blows me away. And you're right. And I like the way you approached it. And I want to give you kudos for bringing it not to the people who are affected by it, but the people on the outside, the ones that are, and I'm going to call it like I see it, the ones that usually point the finger and they're like, oh, it's just, they just need to suck it up. Or my one, when they pick on us, those who serve, you enlisted. I've seen that comment time and time again. You enlisted. You chose to, like we sat here and we're like, yeah, I wanted this to happen in my life, because I was just like, this is what I wanted to do. No, there's believing in service of your country, and you need to be taken care of. But anyways, I don't want to get on my soapbox about that, because that's a whole nother hour of an episode. We'll have you back to Railroad on that. But I do want to thank you so much today for coming on. I know we jumped around. Hopefully everybody got some good insight. We hit everything, and I think that's what's good. Two good points of view. We don't always have to agree politically, but I think we can agree that we solved a little bit today. Hopefully people take advice. Now, Lisa, if people want to outreach to you, what's the best way for them to contact you? You hit the nail on the head talking about mental health, and I think some people might want to be able to follow you and get some more insight, maybe reach out to you and kind of put that positive spin and get some of these workouts in, and I know you're the one to listen to. So what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
The best place for everyone to follow me is on Instagram, and my handle is Lisa Bodenburg, Bodenburg. Just type that in. I'm the only one that'll pop up there. And I love giving away free content and free advice and free help. And there are a lot of resources in the link in my bio that you can go to. One of the biggest ones that I love to send people to, because it's has the most value, is a free morning success routine. If you are struggling and you don't know where to start, start with a free morning success routine. It is 10 minutes of your morning and it can change your life. Go to www.libertybellfitness.com and you can download it there for free. And I promise you, it will change your life. And if you need more help than that, reach out to me. I'm not just on here talking because I like to talk, although I love talking with you, Eric. I'm real, I'm human, and I'm here to serve you.
I love it. Well, thank you again for joining us today. We'll have you back real soon. And everybody, you now know how to get a hold of her. You'll see it here if you're watching on C-Suite and on YouTube. Please scroll down into the notes of the show and we will have the contact information again. If you're watching on C-Suite, please scroll down. You'll see the notes in there. Same thing on YouTube. If you're watching this on our Facebook right now, please go into the comments. You'll see the best way to contact Lisa. And in fact, if you leave comments during the show, Lisa will come back because we've been obviously doing this. So she'll come back on after the show and answer any of your questions. So if you don't know how to figure out how to do the socials, we're right here for you. We don't want to make an excuse for you. So just put it in there, tag her on the comments. You'll see her here in the Facebook. And I love I called it the Facebook. Hey, my God, I sound like I'm one of these senators on Congress talking about the Twitter. The Twitter and the Facebook and the Google. It doesn't have "thes" in front of it, but they call it all that. But that's how the best way to reach Lisa. So Lisa, of course, my friend, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a great conversation to have you on the show. And Semper Fi, and we'll see you real soon. Everybody else, stay tuned. We got more coming at you after the break. Thank you for watching today's show. As always, if you'd like to be a guest or you know somebody that we should have on our show as a guest, feel free to email us at hello@tothepointtv.com. We look forward to hearing from you. And you can also email us if you have a complaint, want to give us kudos, high fives, or if you have an additional question for a guest. Feel free to email us again at hello@tothepointtv.com. Our Twitter is up and running and it's for social good. Not yelling and screaming political or anything else crazy on our Twitter. So follow us on Twitter at @ToThePointTV and we'll tweet back at you. And as always, we want you to check out our IG. We love Instagram. Our Instagram stories are up, they're buzzing, and they're meant for you. We love our fans and followers, and we want you to know who our guests are coming on, and we want you to engage with us, and we want to engage with you. So make sure you're following us at Instagram at @ToThePointTV. Now, we love you on Facebook, and we want to make sure, because you're probably watching this on Facebook, you're like, why would you already follow us? But tell a friend that they can come follow our show and never miss a live episode. As you know, here on Facebook, make sure you head, if you're not on Facebook watching this, then it's different, but our Facebook is To The Point with Eric Mitchell. So make sure you follow us there so you always get notified when our show goes live at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Now, for the folks over on YouTube. Now, YouTube, we love our YouTube, and our channel is growing, and we love you there. Now, if you missed the live show at 12 p.m. Eastern, you can catch the premiere, which is re-recorded. The premiere on YouTube goes down every day at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and simply just go do that. So remember, with YouTube, what we want you to do is smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and flick that bell. That's right, hit the bell. Give that bell some bell love, and that way you know when we're on air and you can catch our latest episode. Check out our playlist. All of them broken down by the day and guest and show, so you can always stay up to date. Once again, on behalf of the entire team here at To The Point, we want to thank you for, again, tuning in and watching our show, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow on To The Point. As always, I am your host, Eric Mitchell. Be safe, be strong, be smart, and God bless America.
Let's get to the point with Eric Mitchell. Let's get to the point. Sit and enjoy. This is Eric Mitchell. He the host of the show. Get to the point. He is the voice. We needed this, something more. This is a daily show that's known for politics and the sports. Ain't no limit to whoever you may see at this point. To celebrities, Eric Key's beast in the joint. As a veteran, put him at ease, then annoy. Every conversation can never be disappointed. Whether tragic or it's happy, Eric will cover whatever's happening. Whether it be your gymnast, toe tapping, talking about nearly any athlete, not taking a back seat. You're never gonna get it past T. Everybody running from it, it's a stampede. But it's on it like this man who took that knee. Mr. Mitchell's way too crafty.